Hey everybody, how's it going? This is John Breeden. It is Sunday night, February 23rd, 2020. A very long day is in the books. The Cup Xfinity doubleheader just wrapped up, and Chase Briscoe won the Xfinity Series race that was originally scheduled for yesterday, Saturday afternoon, but rain pushed it back to Sunday following the Cup race. Chase Briscoe won, and Joey Logano won today's Cup Series race at Las Vegas, the Pennzoil 400, on a race that ended under caution. Talk about that here in just a little while, as well as trucks from Friday night at Las Vegas, which was in fact won by Kyle Busch. We'll be talking more about that, but first off, there was an update given on Ryan Newman today by Bob Pockrass. And if you listen to the race day show, Bob Pockrass was on and said that basically Ryan Newman has no broken bones, no internal injuries, but he does in fact have a head injury, and did not specify obviously what that head injury is, but he has a head injury and he does plan on racing again. And Bob Pockrass stated that in order for Ryan Newman to race again, he would have to pass an impact test. Now, I'm not a doctor and I don't exactly know how impact tests work, but that's what's going to have to happen for Ryan to get back in the car. And I mean, like I said, I'm not a doctor and I don't know how impact testing works, but it was clear to me by how Bob Pockrass said it that, I mean, there shouldn't be any problems with Ryan Newman not passing this test. Whenever he gets healthy, that is. You know, that could be a long time before Ryan Newman is ready to go. But I do suspect that he'll be fine to race again at some point, whenever that might be. Might not be this year at all. Could be next year. Who knows? But we'll see. That's the update on Ryan Newman. And some drivers did have Ryan Newman logos on their cars. I think one of the Xfinity cars had a Rocket Man 6 logo on the back of their car this weekend. So very nice stuff. And like I've mentioned a million times before in the past two shows, I hope he gets better. Hope we see him back on the track soon, and just hope he recovers. And Ross Chastain replaced Ryan Newman today and ran fairly well at the beginning of the race, and was actually in the top 10 for probably about the first half of the race, and wasn't able to stay there, but he was running good. And so yeah, that's the update there. So also this weekend, I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. The Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch bet that was made on Twitter, which was actually took place yesterday. And basically Kevin Harvick sent out a challenge and said that I have $50,000 for whoever can beat Kyle Busch in one of his last 4 Truck Series starts in 2020. For any Cup driver who can go down to the trucks and beat him. And then Marcus Lemonis, who is the CEO of Camping World, added in another $50,000. So this is a $100,000 bet. And there were a lot of drivers advocating on Twitter that they wanted a shot at this. So here's my thought on this. And I like this for multiple reasons, okay? Number one, this is going to get more eyes on the Truck Series, I believe. Because now when these Cup guys run these truck races, you know, it means more than they're just going out and trying to beat the younger truck guys. And I like that. And so it's going to mean something more when these Cup guys are out here racing. And you know, gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. I apologize. it's going to get more viewers. It's going to get more people to watch the truck races and the Cup guys race, and it's actually going to mean something. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, this makes Kyle Busch look like a complete superstar. I mean, Kyle Busch is already a big star. Obviously, he's arguably the best driver in NASCAR right now. I guess you could say Martin Truex Jr. is the top guy, but I mean, realistically, Kyle Busch is the top guy in NASCAR right now. But this makes him even a bigger star because it's who's going to beat Kyle Busch? Who's going to beat Kyle Busch? And that's what this contest is about. And, if one of these guys are able to beat Kyle Busch, then, it makes them into a bigger star because they were the one that beat Kyle Busch. So I like this. I like this a lot. We'll see what happens. As far as the guys beating Kyle, I wouldn't count on it. The only way I really see Kyle losing any of these is if he has issues, which that would honestly suck. I mean, because you don't want like him to get a speeding penalty or get caught up in a wreck. I mean, that's just kind of the cheap way of getting a Cup driver to beat him. But yeah, we'll see. I like it, and it's very cool that Kevin Harvick did this. It's a really neat thing they're gonna do, and make people tune into the Truck Series. So there you go there. All right, so I got a lot of racing to talk about, and the Cup race was, of course, today, and I was pretty entertained throughout the entire race. It was a pretty decent race. Restarts were just absolutely crazy, and a lot of passing going on, a lot of drama late between Harvick is right there behind Joey Logano for a stretch of laps, and then he fell off, and then Ryan Blaney took the lead late in the race, and then Alex Bowman just out of nowhere gets up to second place. And so it looks like it's going to be a battle between Blaney and Bowman, and then the caution comes out, and then a bunch of guys pit, and the top 11 stayed out. And so Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman and those guys didn't even stand a chance there on that last restart, and it was an unfortunate situation for those guys. I mean, it was overall, I thought the race was pretty good, but just not the finish everybody was looking for, obviously, and it ended under caution as well, and it's not what the fans want to see, but it is what it is. And Joey Logano did win the race. It was his second win at Las Vegas. And second time now, the Pennzoil car has in fact won the Pennzoil 400. And yeah, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this race, kind of recap it a little bit. And the qualifying was rained out, and so they set the field by owner's points from last year. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, though, had to go to the back. They had some inspection issues, and so they had to go to the back. And as well as Christopher Bell, he had to go to the back as well. So they start the race. It's actually Kevin Harvick up on the front row since Kyle had to go to the back. And it was Martin Truex Jr. on the front row as well. And so they start, and immediately Daniel Suarez stalls out on the first lap. Some sort of mechanical issue, and that brought out the first caution. Didn't even make a lap, Daniel Suarez. I mean, is the Daniel Suarez story just any more heartbreaking? I mean, my goodness. I hated it for this guy. He didn't even make a lap without having issues. He did end up finishing the race, which was good, but man, this guy just cannot catch a break. But anyway, he ended up going 2 laps down and got back out there, but it's just a shame, man. It's just a shame. But there you go there. And so they restarted, and Martin Truex actually, one of these restarts, he gave Kyle Larson a really big bump and almost wrecked him. I mean, all these restarts were just absolutely insane. These guys were 2 and 3 wide, and Logano and Harvick were trading the lead early on, and Logano got it at one point, and then Harvick passed him. Harvick was the leader at the competition caution, and lots of contact going on the track. I mean, I think the restart after the competition caution, Ryan Blaney dove to the inside of Chase Elliott, and Chase Elliott kind of went to block, and he almost wrecked. And so there was contact there. There was contact with Blaney and Larson at one point. Larson was really sideways off corner. And at this point, Harvick is still leading, and Chase Elliott, with 15 to go in the first stage, passed Harvick for the lead, and Elliott would win stage 1, and Truex was second. Truex was pretty much the only Toyota worth anything today. I mean, he was up in the top 10 at some point, but then had issues. Harvick was third, and in fact, at this point, all Hendrick cars were inside the top 10, and they were looking very impressive. And Ross Chastain actually finished his first stage in 10th place, so he was running very well at the beginning of this race. So then stage 2, another crazy restart to kick off that second stage, and Harvick regained the lead. But then Chase Elliott, once again, at lap 25 of stage 2, regained the lead. And Harvick ended up falling back another spot to Martin Truex Jr. at that point. And Harvick complained over the radio that the car was too loose. And so he was having trouble. He really had a good short-run car. It was just had trouble, getting loose once the run started going on. Then here at one point here in stage 2, it was Christopher Bell who made a great save. It looked like he had some contact with Bubba Wallace going into turn 3 and got sideways. He was pretty much spun out and made a great save and kept going. So during this stage 2, they had green flag pit stops and problems for Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson on these round of stops. It looked like Hamlin was trying to exit his pit. Johnson was trying to get in. One of those deals. They both stopped for a second and cost him some time. And so at this point, everybody's pretty much pitting, and Ricky Stenhouse is staying out, trying to go as long as he can. And at one point, Jimmy Johnson is trying to go by him, and Stenhouse kind of ran him up the track a bit. And you see Jimmy, nearly getting the wall. He throws his hand out at Ricky Stenhouse, so he was not happy with Mr. Stenhouse Jr. And then Stenhouse pitted with 16 to go in stage 2. So the lead at this point cycled back to Chase Elliott, and he led up until 2 laps to go when Christopher Bell spun, and Elliott won the second stage, Blaney was second, Truex Jr. was third, and once again, all the Hendrick cars were in the top 9, and Kyle Busch was 10th. Kyle Busch had finally cracked the top 10 at this point. It hadn't been a good day for Kyle Busch. Neither Denny Hamlin. In fact, right before the end of the stage, Denny Hamlin was doing everything he could to just stay on the lead lap. And he was fighting with Chase. And this was, in fact, it was helping Truex catch Chase Elliott. And I thought Truex might win the stage, but then Ryan Blaney occupied Truex Jr. So then Chase was able to pull away. But yeah, the stage ended up ending under caution after Christopher Bell spun out. So then Truex Jr. was actually first off a pit road, but then he had to come back to tighten lug nuts. And so he had to go to, I don't think he went to the tail end, but he just had to come back in. And so Blaney ended up restarting first, and Elliott was second. And then it was Joey Logano who actually took the lead on this restart. He went, I think he pushed Ryan Blaney out there, and then he went to the outside and passed him. Or he may have went 3 wide that restart. I can't remember now, but he took the lead. And then John Hunter Nemechek, a lap later, spun out. That brought out the caution. And then we had another caution shortly after that when it was Martin Truex Jr. who actually got up into the wall. This was at lap 177. He came off 4 and kind of got in the wall a little bit, brought out the caution. And so then on that restart, Ryan Blaney took the lead from Logano, but then Harvick came back and passed Blaney shortly after. And then Ryan Blaney regained the lead with 67 to go. And then Chase followed him and then took the lead with 63 to go. So 4 laps after Blaney took the lead, Chase was already back in the lead. And so then Chase Elliott, who had been having a really solid day, he was pretty much the best car, and it looked like he was on a way to a win. And they had green flag pit stops. He came in, great pit stop, and this was about with 40 to go, I believe. And I don't remember. I remember they explained what happened to his tire, like something like caved in or something on his tire, and he spun. He had a flat left rear, like a lap or 2 after his pit stop, and the caution came out. He had some damage to the right rear fender, and that was pretty much it for Chase Elliott, who I pretty much thought Chase was going to win the race. And of course, I mean, the norm with Chase Elliott, I mean, man, it's just like something always happens to him. And this was another example here. So, very unfortunate. But, I mean, for Chase Elliott and the Hendrick guys, I mean, I speculated on Friday that I thought, you know, these Hendrick guys early in the year, you know, they're really not up to speed. And they usually get things sorted out, you know, midway through the year. And I couldn't have been more wrong, because all those Hendrick guys, you know, they didn't come away with the finishes they wanted, but they were up there in the top 9, 10 all race long. So you got to give it to them. I mean, they ran very well today, and just didn't work out, but it is what it is. They can hold their heads high because they had some good speed in today's race. But nonetheless, he ended up going a lap down, and that was the end for Chase Elliott as far as trying to win this race. So Stenhouse was in fact the leader at this point because he had stayed out, and John Hunter Nemechek was second. And this strategy would in fact play out for Ricky Stenhouse because, spoiler alert, he finished 3rd place. John Hunter Nemechek, not so much, but nonetheless, Logano got the lead on the restart fairly quickly. Harvick was second, and as I mentioned in the beginning, Harvick pretty much stayed with Joey for quite a few laps, stayed right on his bumper, and then his car fell off late in the going with about, I'd say, 18, 19 laps to go, and Blaney passed him for second, and Blaney, I mean, like a rocket ship, drove up past Logano with 12 laps to go. A really cool slide job pass off turn 4, got the lead, and Alex Bowman from out of nowhere passed Harvick very quickly, and very quickly passed Joey Logano like a lap or 2 after Blaney had passed him. And so it looked like, as I mentioned, it looked like it was going to be a battle between Bowman and Blaney, and we were going to get a really cool finish. And then Ross Chastain spun out with 6 laps to go, bringing out the caution. And I thought, man. And I'm just looking at that running order, and I'm thinking, it's either going to be Logano or Harvick, because they're so good on restarts, and these restarts have been so crazy. There's been so many 3 wide, 4 wide moves going into the corner. And I thought, there you go. They're going to win. And obviously, Logano did win, but it was not under the circumstances I thought, because Blaney and a bunch of the other leaders pitted, and a bunch of the other guys stayed out. The top 3 for the last restart was Logano, Byron, and DiBenedetto. And so this restart was just a disaster. So they restart. Logano gets a good jump. DiBenedetto dove underneath William Byron going into turn 1, slammed him. Didn't have a lot of room, so he was just trying to fit in the hole, but he hit him. Byron had some smoke, went up the racetrack, And I'm not even sure what happened here off turn 4 that brought out the caution, but I just know Byron was in it and John Hunter Nemechek was in it. But there was a wreck. There was a wreck in the back, and the caution came out to end the race, and Joey Logano won. Joey Logano, his second win at Las Vegas and first win of 2020. So, yeah, not exactly the finish I was expecting, but I guess it is what it is. Logano won, and DiBenedetto was second, ties his career high. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was third. Austin Dillon was fourth. Jimmy Johnson was fifth. Had a great run all day. Bubba Wallace was sixth. He stayed out there on that last run. Got a sixth place finish. Then there's Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Ty Dillon rounding out the top 10. Some notable finishers. Ryan Blaney ended up 11th. As I mentioned, he came in a pit and cost him all those spots. And I will say this about that strategy. I mean, it's just, you roll the dice, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And, had only 3 cars stayed out, everybody would be saying, that was a great strategy to come in for 4 tires. But it ended up being 12 cars that, stayed out, or I guess 11. And so it didn't work out. And it's just the risk you take. You took a gamble. And here in Las Vegas, the gamble did not work out for Ryan Blaney. And I know a lot of fans were mad about the finish, but I mean, it is what it is. There were cars crashing on the front stretch, and there was apparently NASCAR said there was debris and things of that nature. So the reality is it is what it is. You get these finishes sometimes. I would have loved to have seen them race back to the line. Quite frankly, I would have liked to have seen Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman battle it out, but late caution, what are you going to do? So that's my thoughts on that. Alex Bowman was 13th, had a great run until, as I mentioned, the strategy. Kyle Busch, 15th, not a good day for Kyle Busch. Not a good day for Denny Hamlin either, 17th. Corey LaJoie was 16th. And Martin Truex Jr. was 20th. William Byron was 22nd. He had a great run until the incident. In fact, he was up there, of course, on that last restart, battling for the win. Eric Jones, 23rd. Kurt Busch, 25th. Chase Elliott, 26th. Ross Chastain, 27th. And, Daniel Suarez, as mentioned, 30th. Unfortunate start for those guys. So, that's that. And, of course, they're in California next weekend. So, if you love restarts, I'm sure you're going to get some good ones there. But, great race. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And just up until the end. I didn't really like the finish, but what are you going to do? And so Xfinity, talk about that now, just wrapped up. And so this race ran one stage yesterday, and then the rain came, and they ended up running the rest right after the Cup race, an hour after. And so I'm going to talk about it. I'm really going to hit the key points here because I didn't really take notes for tonight. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. It's something about watching the Xfinity race after the Cup race where it's just like, it's like, it's hard to stay attentive. And I think I would have been better off had the Xfinity race been run first and then the Cup race second. But anyway, so yesterday, Harrison Burton was on the pole for the Xfinity race, and Chase Briscoe quickly took the lead, and then Allgaier took over the lead, and he led up until lap 19 when Daniel Hemrick wrecked, and pretty unfortunate for Hemrick. I mean, this is a big year for Hemrick. I mean, he's kind of at a point to where he's got to prove himself, and he's out of a Cup ride, and, here he is with Junior Motorsports on a limited schedule, And so to start like this in his first start, I mean, that's it's not how you want it to go. But yeah, disappointing. And then Al Geyer lost 9 spots in the pits. He was too close to the box, and so he kind of had to back up a little bit for the guys to work. When I looked at it, I thought, he looks fine, and apparently he wasn't, so there you go. And so then Briscoe led and ended up winning the first stage, and so they then threw the caution because more rain had came. And so they tried and they tried and they tried for hours and hours and hours until they realized they had missed their window. And so the remainder of the race ran tonight. And so the race restarted, and Chase Briscoe got out to the lead. And at one point, Alex Labbe spun and brought out the caution. This is all in stage 2, by the way. And Al Geyer ended up winning the second stage. And so then the final stage, it was Al Geyer leading, but then Cindric at one point took the lead. And so Cindric was leading, and then there was an incident with, it was Myatt Snider and Noah Gragson. And they came off turn 4, and Snyder was on the outside, and it looked like Noah just drove into him. And I don't know if it was an accident or not, or they had been having a back and forth, but it looked like he intentionally wrecked him. And he spun. No significant damage. And so that was that. And they had pit stops, and the 98 of Chase Briscoe got the lead back at that point. And it was 41 laps to go, and they restarted, and Briscoe got out front ahead of Cindric, and he never looked back. He won the race. And so, yep, there you go. I don't really know what else to say about it. My pick did win. I did, in fact, pick Chase Briscoe to win, and he did. He looked very impressive. And kind of just a basic race, not a lot happening, but Chase Briscoe clearly showed a lot of strength in this race, as I predicted. And like I said, he showed a lot of improvement last year, and so I thought this was going to be a big year for him. And he's starting off well. It's his 3rd career win. And yeah, I mean, watching this race, and I said last, I guess Friday when I said it, was, the top guys this year. I refuse to say big 3 because I hate that term. But the top guys this year for the Xfinity Series is probably going to be Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Justin Allgaier. And if you watch this race today, the majority of the race was led by those 3 guys. So there you go. Chase Briscoe won the race. And let me get the finishing order here on NASCAR.com. And let's see. So Chase Briscoe won the race. Austin Cindric was 2nd. Ryan Sieg had a great run. He was up in the top 10 all night. He was 3rd. Noah Gragson was 4th. Harrison Burton was 5th. And then it was Brandon Jones, Michael Annett, Justin Allgaier, Riley Herbst, Ross Chastain rounding out the top 10. Some notable finishers. Brandon Brown has been running really good. Ran really good at Daytona last week. Ran good tonight. He was 11th. And Justin Haley was 12th. And looks to be all the notable finishers. Obviously, Daniel Hemrick was 35th after his incident on Saturday. So, there you go. That was the Xfinity race that just wrapped up a little bit ago. And that's time for me to talk about the Truck Series race from Friday night. This feels like forever ago. And Johnny Sauter started on the pole. And he and Sheldon Creed traded the lead early on. But then it was Kyle Busch who took over quickly from those guys. And actually, Derek Kraus spun on lap 2. I forgot to mention that. So it was an early caution, but Kyle quickly took over the lead, and he won stage 1. And then Christian Eckes, who, by the way, drives for Kyle, was first off pit road for the second stage. And then Eckes, he led for a little while, but then Kyle reclaimed the lead and won stage 2. And it actually looked like there when Eckes was leading, because he led quite a few laps there. Kyle was just kind of in behind him. And I thought, oh, I see, the boss is kind of just following Eckes there, following his driver and seeing what he can do. But Kyle actually said in his interview he just couldn't get going on the restarts. And he was, he was fighting that. So it actually, Eckes was out driving him there for that moment in time. So then the final stage, the story of this stage was Sheldon Creed and Kyle Busch battled it out through that final stage. And Creed led for a little bit, and he was doing everything he could. And there was an incident in the second stage with Grant Enfinger and Raphael Lezard. And Lezard basically looked like he just got loose underneath Enfinger, and they both went up in the wall. They were coming off turn 2. One of those kind of deals where somebody got loose underneath him, and both guys got in the wall. Grant Enfinger actually ended up going to the garage. Didn't have that significant damage, but he had some sort of leak in his car. And it's not written down in my notes here, but at some point Christian Eckes got up into the wall. He had, I think, a tire go down. I don't know why it's not in my notes here, but that happened at some point in the final stage, and it's pretty unfortunate because he was having a great run going, but just like the Hendrick cars, he should be proud because he did show a lot of strength in this race. So there you go. There was a restart with 40 to go, and Creed was hanging there on the bottom of the track. Kyle was on the outside. That's how they restarted. And he hung there for quite a few laps. And a couple of times I thought, man, he's got him. He's got him. He's going to clear him. He's got him. Kyle would hang there. And then I thought, okay, Kyle's going to pass him now. And then Creed would hang right there with him. And at one point, they went into turn 3, and Creed got loose on the bottom a little bit and slid up, almost getting into Kyle, and fell back, and Kyle regained the lead, and Sheldon Creed ended up dropping all the way back to 10th. Probably, I assume he just used up his truck there at that point, racing Kyle so hard, but yeah, he fell back, and from that point on, Kyle just put a blistering pace on everybody. He had like a 7-second lead when he won. And, he held on and won. Kyle Busch's 57th win in the Truck Series. His second at Las Vegas. Third, at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And so, yeah. So, another win in his hometown. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is all the action from this weekend. I am exhausted. I'm going to get some rest, and I'll be back on Friday to preview the Auto Club Speedway weekend, which we have Xfinity and Cup racing this weekend. Trucks are off until Atlanta. That is in 2 weeks. And so, yeah, that's it. Hey, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at NASCAR Images. Follow my main account at JohnBreeden9. And Twitter at John_R_Breeden. And that is it. I'll talk to you later.